South suburban politician Tiffany Henyard appears to have lost control of both governments.
Henyard's landlord showed up here to see her tenant in person after she says Henyard has been dodging both her and rent.
In a neighborhood plagued by political scandals as both the mayor of Dalton and the supervisor of Thornton Township, Tiffany Henyard, the self-declared super mayor of Dalton, is at the center of yet another controversy that has left both locals and critics in disbelief. Henyard has been involved in a number of scandals, from extravagant spending to dubious interactions with law enforcement. And with new accusations coming up nearly every day, it seems that her turbulent political career has already reached a critical point, leaving observers to wonder, control, or if they're a component of a planned, intentional approach. The most recent development in her story is a dramatic statement she made on an impending disclosure that she insists would result in the detention and prosecution of multiple political rivals. This statement has only heightened the already tense environment around her leadership, with some wondering if it's a sincere attempt to straighten things up or a ploy to divert attention away from her growing problems. Ironically, even though she receives a six-figure salary from her two jobs, according to sources, Henyard earns around $280,000 a year. She is currently enmeshed in a legal dispute over her non-payment of rent since August, which prompted her former landlord and supporter Jen to file an eviction case against her toll. Jen, who previously regarded herself as an ally of the mayor, claims that Henyard has consistently failed to make any payments, compelling her to pursue legal action. Given that she is responsible for managing millions of dollars in public funds, this revelation raises serious concerns about Henyard's capacity to manage her personal finances. Residents are understandably concerned that someone who faces eviction is also in charge of vital township operations. The optics of such a circumstance have only deepened the community's disenchantment with Henyard's leadership, raising questions about her capacity to lead effectively. This most recent scandal adds to an already mounting list of worries regarding her ethical and financial management, with detractors charging her with prioritizing her own interests over the needs of Dalton's citizens. Henyard's management of public monies has long been a source of controversy. During her tenure, she has been accused of lavish expenditures, including expensive inauguration festivities, luxury travel, and throwing upscale parties, one of which featured famous musicians but drew very few guests. Each of these incidents, which left taxpayers with a large expense, has increased popular indignation and portrayed Henyard as a leader more focused on promoting himself than tackling the actual problems affecting the people of Dalton. The community's trust in Henyard's administration has been further damaged by the fallout from her extravagant spending, accusations of poor management, and broken promises. As resentment grows, public gatherings frequently turn into furious arguments and personal assaults. At one such meeting, critics criticized Henyard for using public funds to support an opulent lifestyle while basic services like residents from all walks of life have expressed their displeasure with the state of their town, highlighting the persistent problems with transport and infrastructure. It is evident that Henyard's leadership has alienated many, and the mounting dissatisfaction is now starting to affect her political standing. Furthermore, her constant portrayal of criticisms of her as unfounded assaults driven by political rivalry and sexism has only fueled the flames. While some supporters, many detractors contend that this defense is insufficient in light of her allegations that she is being singled out as a strong, independent female leader. Given the growing evidence of Gino, the landlord of Henyard, engaging in financial and administrative negligence, the dissatisfaction is extremely personal. After supporting the mayor, she is now involved in a legal battle that highlights the inconsistencies between Henyard's public persona and private life. Since someone who is facing eviction for financial mismanagement is also responsible for managing public funds, many in Dalton are doubting Henyard's suitability to serve as leader. As the controversy develops, it's still unclear whether Henyard will weather the storm or whether her political career will finally collapse under the weight of her growing scandals, regardless of whether it is due to financial mismanagement wasteful spending, or a strained relationship with her political rivals, it is undeniable that the turmoil and unpredictable behavior that define her leadership have left the Dalton community severely split and disillusioned. An excellent illustration of how not to rule is Henyard's time as mayor.
Landlord, and she says she came to this Thornton Township meeting Tuesday night hoping to get paid.
Paul describes her attempts to collect money from Tiffany Henyard, who allegedly stopped paying rent for the leased property and also altered the garage codes and locks to prevent access to what began as a simple business. Her story paints a clear and disturbing picture of frustration and betrayal. The arrangement has become tense and mistrustful, and Paul is now fighting for accountability as well as monetary recompense. The issue is more complex than that. Losses that raise more serious questions about leadership and ethics if Paul's claims are accurate. The incident reflects Henyard's leadership style, which is one of taking without giving back or keeping promises. Paul feels degraded and deceived by someone who ought to be an example of accountability and justice since he trusted Henyard to lease her land because he believed in the mayor's reputation as a community advocate. Henyard's public persona as a community advocate and her seemingly indifferent private behavior stand in stark contrast to each other. Agreements and trust give the narrative a somber undertone. Paul's story draws attention to her personal struggle, as well as more general concerns about the morality and accountability expected of those in positions of authority. It serves as a warning about the need to hold even the most dependable people accountable and illuminates the psychological and moral costs associated with feeling deceived by someone with such substantial public influence.
I'm at wit's end, and I fear that I'm going to go into foreclosure soon.
The overdue rent, the controversy surrounding Tiffany Henyard, is only the start of a more serious picture that has surfaced during her time as Dalton's mayor. Allegations of extravagant spending have stoked widespread annoyance and deep concerns among residents. And as the town's budget deficit continues to grow, Henyard seems to be living a lifestyle that many believe is totally out of step with its financial realities. Last year alone, thousands of taxpayers' dollars have been spent on opulent lodgings, such as stays at the Four Seasons in Atlanta and the Marriott Marquis in New York City. The most startling disclosure is that Dalton's public funding reportedly paid for an estimated. Henyard's administration has justified $223,000 in restaurant bills over a few months, claiming that these expenditures were part of efforts to draw in investors. However, critics are quick to refute this narrative, pointing out that Dalton is facing obvious urgent problems like broken water mains, deteriorating infrastructure, and unresolved safety concerns. Asserts residents who trusted Henyard with their vote are now watching as their priorities, like infrastructure improvements and public safety, take a backseat to extravagant spending, which has only increased skepticism among those who wonder where the alleged investments are and whether they have had any real impact on Dalton's well-being. Some have called the stark contrast between the mayor's claims of attracting investment and the town's deteriorating financial and structural state a betrayal. Indulgence pattern as Dalton's public resources fail. Opponents contend that this shows a profound disengagement from the everyday hardships of regular people. To many, the mayor's frequent use of public funds for upscale lodging, exquisite meals, and expensive travel appears to be a flagrant contempt for the trust plaque. Henyard's lack of open communication has added to the annoyance of Dalton locals, leaving many wondering why such extravagant expenditures were thought essential at all, particularly given the town's infrastructure desperately needs to be repaired. Residents feel that their taxes are being spent to support a luxury lifestyle rather than meeting the necessities of a municipality dealing with real-world problems, and the absence of any obvious advantages from these pricey travels only serves to increase their animosity. Dalton continues to have growing financial difficulties, and many believe that Henyard's activities are not just financially reckless but also morally dubious. Self-indulgence is a glaring insult to the sacrifices made by the people of the town. The idea of a mayor traveling first class, staying in five-star hotels, and dining at fancy restaurants while essential services are underfunded is extremely distressing to those who are already struggling to make ends meet with the town's deteriorating infrastructure and other unresolved problems. These extravagant spendings, according to critics, are an indication of their shifting priorities and increasing detachment from reality. That Henyard's spending patterns have done more to undermine confidence in her leadership than to promote the town's growth or strengthen its financial situation. Han's actions indicate that she is more concerned with satisfying her own preferences than attending to the needs of the community. But the community's frustration is evident, and many view her actions are indicative of a larger failure to address the real issues facing the town's infrastructure, public services, and fiscal stability. This growing dissatisfaction has become a defining narrative of Henyard's leadership, casting a long shadow over her administration. Residents' growing sense of betrayal and resentment is not only hurting her political standing, but also raising doubts about the integrity of her commitments to Dalton's welfare. For a town that is struggling to survive, Henyard's extravagant lifestyle, which is paid for with taxpayer dollars, feels like a bitter reminder of the gap between those in power and Henyard, dubbed the super mayor, is allegedly consolidating power in increasingly authoritarian ways, setting the rules and controlling the narrative to maintain her authority. The most alarming accusations are that Tiffany Henyard is abusing her position of power to suppress dissent, which has become a major source of concern for Dalton's residents, raising serious questions about her leadership and governance. Has assigned local law enforcement to serve as her personal security detail, tasked with keeping an eye on and threatening anyone who dare to question your authority. There are concerns of a police state in the small town, where people are allegedly monitored and harassed for merely expressing their dissent as a result of this unsettling strategy of employing law enforcement to quell criticism. Some have accused local business owners in particular of being forced to donate to Henyard's campaign out of political pressure. There have been reports of harassment and unauthorized inspections as forms of revenge against people who disobeyed her instructions. Lawrence Gardner, a local company owner, talked about how he was harassed after refusing to donate to Henyard's campaign fund after feeling missiled. In order to demonstrate the widespread culture of dread that has taken hold, Gardner characterized turning down Henyard's request as an invitation for trouble. Many locals have also voiced their concerns about the danger of reprisals for criticizing the mayor, including threats of arrest for those who dare to question her authority. This atmosphere of intimidation has caused a noticeable sense of unease, with many community members characterizing Dalton as a place where opposing the mayor could have dire repercussions. Residents have responded to this atmosphere by using social media to express their increasing discontent with Henyard's actions. Public posts have revealed widespread annoyance, with some users expressing, quite frankly, the common ask where the FBI is. Henyard must be taken into custody, and the cleanup of this catastrophe must start right away. Henyard is accused of misconduct in another critical post, claiming that she doesn't live there, that the house is for show, and that her mansion is likely in another state. Tiffany has stolen too much money, and she is up to something. These comments highlight the growing sense of abandonment that Dalton residents feel, as they feel their mayor is more concerned with enriching herself and with bettering their lives. Many fear that their impending foreclosure due to financial difficulties will further distance them from a leadership that appears to be disconnected from their actual needs. Henyard's lavish lifestyle and the mounting scandals surrounding her, however, have apparently drawn the attention of federal authorities. According to reports, the FBI has opened an investigation into her administration, concentrating on her use of public funds. The specifics of the investigation are still unknown, but insiders speculate that it centers on Henyard's extravagant spending, which contrasts sharply with the dire financial situation the town is experiencing, could soon come to a head with possible criminal repercussions if the rumors are accurate. However, it's not just her personal expenses that are being scrutinized. There are also rumors that she has given big contracts to close allies and campaign donors, which some claim is part of a plan to increase her political power by fortifying loyalty through taxpayer-funded agreements. Regardless of whether these contracts benefit the general public, sources assert that they are given strategically to maintain loyalty and strengthen Henyard's hold on power. For many Dalton residents, these developments have reinforced their growing suspicions that Henyard's administration operates more like an exclusive club where access to opportunities, funding, and power is reserved for those with the right connections. Public confidence in the government has been further damaged by this pattern of favoritism and cronyism. Critics claim that Henyard's actions reveal a structural issue where only those who agree with her or are prepared to support her political views, despite the fact that more and more citizens are demanding a formal probe of the town's contracting practices. Ambitions are given the chance to succeed. Dalton citizens are growing more disenchanted with their leadership due to the growing proof of corruption and self-interest, and many are now more resolved than ever to demand responsibility, as public annoyance has escalated into outright indignation as the matter progresses, with requests for a formal investigation of Hen's activities becoming more and more vocal. As a result of locals doubting the integrity of the leadership they trusted with their votes and their future, this dissatisfaction has come to define her administration.
Redundant, and we're getting tired of coming here not having the laws.
If the scandal involving Tiffany Henyard wasn't enough to upset the public, her actions have now started to splinter her own group, making her already precarious position even more precarious. The latest development is that a lawsuit that is still pending has reportedly caused a significant rift between Henyard and Trust Dan Brown, a key when Ali Brown learned that his name was included in the lawsuit without his permission. He was shocked, according to individuals close to Brown, and he quickly tried to disassociate himself from the issue. Intensification as her one strong base of support dwindles. It's becoming evident that Henyard is struggling to maintain control over her political future. Previously known for commanding loyalty, Henyard is now finding herself increasingly abandoned by former allies, with many questioning her ability to lead effectively. This growing disenchantment with her leadership has left her vulnerable to mounting criticism, with many accusing her of neglecting her responsibilities and failing to address the town's pressing needs. In a climate of growing discontent, opposition to Henyard has increased, and locals are publicly accusing her of putting fame and celebrity ahead of her actual governing responsibilities. Many liken her to a reality TV star who is more focused on maintaining her public image than providing actual public service. Her habit of attending high-profile events with a complete entourage, which includes security guards and photographers, has become a cause of annoyance for many. One of the most obvious instances of her excessive behavior was at a recent Henyard's arrival at the Valentine's Day ice rink party, with her deputy police chief acting as her personal bodyguard for locals hoping to enjoy a family outing, created an awkward atmosphere for many. This bizarre scene contrasted sharply with Dalton's increasing financial troubles, further solidifying the idea that Henyard prioritizes maintaining her own image over dealing with the town's most urgent problems. Residents are becoming more and more irritated with what they see because of this emphasis on style over substance, viewed as an administration that is more concerned with appearances than with real solutions to their everyday problems. As criticisms of Henyard's leadership grow, her responses to the increasing pressure have been contemptuous and defiant, instead of addressing the issues at hand. In recent public meetings, she has aggressively attacked her critics, accusing them of jealousy and envy over her alleged success. In one particularly heated exchange, she reminded town's trustees that she is the lead. Despite her strong rhetoric, which many Dalton viewers find insufficient and unpersuasive, she continues to fail to provide concrete solutions to the town's problems with every new controversy that arises. Her authority and credibility as a leader are being called into question more and more because she refuses to acknowledge the growing opposition and her inability to address the residents' concerns, which only serves to further reinforce the impression that she is out of touch with the needs of the community. Of the neighborhood for Dalton residents, Henyard's leadership has turned into a source of annoyance. With every scandal that arises, they wonder how long they will have to put up with the never-ending controversies that seem to follow her everywhere she goes. The town's financial status keeps getting worse, and the difficulties keep getting bigger, but the prospect of significant change under Henyard's leadership is still elusive. With every new setback and scandal, the formerly bright future appears far off and fading, further separating Henyard from the electorate to whom she was elected to serve, leaving residents feeling abandoned and in need of leadership that puts their welfare ahead of personal ambition. As the situation develops, it becomes more evident that Henyard's emphasis on upholding her reputation and gaining power may come at the expense of the very community she vowed to serve. Her public and private actions have had a long-lasting effect on Dalton's faith in its leadership, and many residents are now wondering if the leadership they had hoped for is still within. As Tiffany Henyard maintains her confidence in her chances of winning re-election, the opposition is equally committed to enacting change, and her recent announcement that she plans to run again has only intensified the political drama engulfing Dalton Jason House. A well-known opponent of Henyard has formally declared his candidacy for mayor, promising a new direction for the T. His platform focuses on restoring order, decency, and integrity to a government he believes has been severely tarnished. The community is now faced with a difficult decision between the promise of a new beginning under House's leadership and the troubled, contentious reign of Henyard. Together, the Clean House C slate, a group of like-minded candidates, have emerged united by their goal to address the corruption they claim has been allowed to fester in Dalton's government. Their main goal is to challenge the unchecked power and cronyism that they believe has run rampant and unchallenged for far too long. The upcoming turned out to be a fierce conflict for the future. Many observers find it puzzling that Henyard, who has long taken pride in her political savvy, seems unfazed by the growing obstacles she faces, including the very real possibility of being evicted from her property, intensifying legal disputes, and increased federal scrutiny. She keeps focusing on her story, seemingly unaware of the growing distance between herself and the public, which is becoming more and more disenchanted. Obvious unrest, it's possible that she holds on to the hope that her personal network, devoted supporters, and established connections will see her through a whirlwind of scandals. She may even think that people in her immediate vicinity will support her despite mounting evidence of financial irresponsibility, corruption, and poor management. Alternatively, she may be so engrossed in her own version of events that she lacks awareness of the mounting dissatisfaction around her. It appears that Henyard is determined to keep control of Dalton. Whether or not her established power can weather the storm of controversy will be decided at the polls, but there is a strong sense that her time in office are running out. The upcoming election is expected to be a full-scale political battle in which both sides will make strong arguments for why they should continue to govern Dalton. House C and his group provide a striking contrast to Henyard's management style, inspiring those tired of the scandals and disputes that have dominated her tenure in office include a return to fiscal responsibility, transparency, and a government that prioritizes the needs of the people over the mayor's own interests. Meanwhile, Henry's camp maintains the unwavering loyalty of her supporters and advocates for despite mounting proof to the contrary, she maintains her narrative of development and achievement. At the center of this political fight is the question of whether Henyard can continue to hold onto power or if the weight of her transgressions will ultimately lead to her downfall. A lot of people in Dalton are left wondering how long they can put up with this cycle of scandals and dysfunction before major change becomes necessary. Her credibility as a leader is being called into question more and more with each new controversy, making it harder for her to continue governing without the public's trust. Henyard's ability to maintain her position isn't the only question. As the controversies develop and tensions between her and Henyard increase, it's also important to consider what her continuous leadership, or lack thereof, means for Dalton's future. The adversaries approach a boiling point. The consequences of this political drama will probably influence Dalton's future. The previously prosperous town is now at a crossroads, and its future depends on whether voters will support Henyard's and the current leadership, or whatever the outcome of the election. Dalton's future will be permanently influenced by the outcomes, and the effects of these ongoing problems will probably be seen for years to come as Henyard confronts an uphill battle. Welcome to a new era of accountability underhouse and the clean house slate. Because of the ongoing federal investigation and the increasing pressure from all sides, Dalton residents are left wondering if their long-standing mayor can stay in office, or if the scandal will eventually sweep her away with so much at risk. The election's result will not only decide who runs the town, but also whether Dalton can recover and move past the dysfunction and corruption that have characterized its recent past. People are wondering if Henyard's hold on power is as strong as she thinks. As we await the next developments, it's evident that the stakes for Dalton's future couldn't be higher. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and we'll see you in the next video. Or, if Henyard is defeated, what will this mean for Dalton's future? Will the town be able to move on from the past few years, or will the scandals finally put an end to her turbulent tenure? Afterward, until we meet again, thanks for watching Visual Vortex.